Dawg House Podcast is back. Georgia with the huge overtime win over Tennessee. We were just talking with Seth, man, needed a IV, paper bag, breathing hard. I remember I was at my bachelor party in Nashville, and I didn't feel like doing much after that. It was more of a relief, but great win over Tennessee, 9 straight. What was your thoughts on it, Seth, and how'd you watch it and just the whole reaction?
Yeah, so I have an interesting watch story, actually. I mean, first off, I feel like I had to have a cardiologist appointment on Monday just to check to see if everything was working all right. Man, the blood was pumping. It was wild. But, yeah, I had an interesting watch story. So my son plays a ton of competitive soccer, and they had a tournament this weekend. And so, of course, we get the schedule, and I'm, looking, hoping it'll fall in a good window. And we get the schedule, and his second game kicks off 3:00 Eastern. So I'm like, well, I guess we have to figure this out. So right. I'm watching the game, and I have my AirPod in one ear and the broadcast on my phone kind of palming it as we're on the sideline. And right. They go down 7-0 early, and then they score the answer to tie it back up at 7, and I'm on the sideline. I'm just like, yeah! And then the sideline looks over because it was at a completely inappropriate time to do that. And I was like, oh, sorry guys, big answer there. Sorry. So I watched the first half at his game, and then it's his birthday coming up. So we went out to supper with my in-laws at this pizza place. And this was actually fortuitous. I'm not a public watcher normally.
Right.
But, dude, this pizza place had the setup where they have, the 4 TVs where they put one picture on the 4 TVs.
Right.
I mean, brother, it was like I was at the Regal Cinemas watching Dawgs Vials. It was outstanding. So watched that through, I don't know, maybe mid-third quarter, and then I was at home for the fourth. So a very diverse viewing experience, but yeah, it was good. I really didn't miss anything. I saw all of it.
Right. That's awesome, man. First off, shout out. I don't have any kids yet, but you supporting child, but also being the diehard dog fan. That I've always joked around my fiance. I was like, all right, hey, if we had the baby, would it be hold the baby watching the game? Because
yes,
there's priorities in life, but I'm still gonna be a fan, in respect. So awesome that you're able to somehow watch it.
Yeah. I always tell people, man, I can't help it. I am who I am.
Exactly.
It's just that this is how I am, man. This is how I'm wired.
Yeah. There's a reason why I put my it's all about it. I put my wedding on a Friday, even though it is in the fall, but it's on Friday, so
Smart.
People still watch the Ole Miss game coming up.
Yeah,
so
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. So looking at into the game, of course, like what you mentioned, didn't start out as we hoped, and the defense got shredded. But I think Chris Fowler and Herb Street kept saying, "Hey, we've seen this movie before," and down 21-7. I just didn't know if we were going to have to stop, but I was still thinking, hey, Schumann and Kirby, what you like calling him, Kirby Paul Smart, sorry.
That's right. That's right.
And download it, which they did. And then I felt like that coming out of the half, I think it was 18 play drive, 8 minutes. That kind of was Georgia football, but then they responded, and it was just like a heavyweight fight. So how do you feel coming out of it? I know we got some issues, but how do you feel coming in out of that game into, Alabama coming up?
This is the best thing about college football, right? Is we never know what's going to happen. And right. The narratives that we have one week are not the narratives we have the next week. And so I think if you were looking at the Georgia football team going into Knoxville and you were evaluating this matchup, what I had told everybody was, look, man, the best unit out of the 6 that are going to be on the field Saturday, both sets of special teams, offenses and defenses, is going to be Georgia's defense. That's what you can hang your hat on, is Georgia's defense bringing the wood and kind of having that lunch pail and setting the tone. And that was absolutely wrong, right? I mean, they just looked like they were on skates most of the night. And then the flip side of that was, what was the other narrative? Is what is the offense going to do? Is the offense going to be explosive enough? Can Gunner Stockton do X, Y, and Z? My big question about Gunner had been, look, if he's got to go and win you the football game, can he have everybody jump on his back and do it? And I mean, I believe he answered that, right? I mean, he makes that brass balls throw on 4th down, London with the great catch. And then what I feel like hasn't gotten talked about is the magnificent play design and Zach Branch selling things properly on the 2-point conversion where he's butt naked and they hit that to tie it. So lot of questions answered offensively, and then now we've got questions about the defense. But, I think if you're a Georgia fan, what you have to feel great about is a couple things. Number one, you won a game on the road in a way that you weren't supposed to win it. Meaning everybody assumed you could fight it out and win a defensive slugfest, but nobody thought you were going to go out and put up 40-plus points to win the ball game. Okay, so I think that's a positive because it gives you some, I think, fortification that there's different ways that you can do it. I think the other thing is, and I said this on social media, and I've said it in a couple of other things we've done for years and years and years, Trey, for most of my allegiance as a Georgia fan. Georgia was a y'all should have won program, meaning there's a game that they played. It was real tight, but the other team comes out on top. You get to the water cooler on Monday morning, and everybody and your mom was telling you, oh, man, y'all should have won that game. Y'all should have won that game. Yeah, man, I know. Officials had us, or we couldn't do this. Well, now you're a Georgia fan. You get to the water cooler, and they go, oh, man, y'all should have lost that game this weekend. Well, let me tell you something. That's a big, big paradigm shift for a program. And that's Kirby, right? I mean, that is the Kirby Paul Smart factor right there, is taking this program from a y'all should have won program to a y'all should have lost program. And the y'all should have lost programs are elite. The reason people say y'all should have lost because they know how to figure out how to win. And so those are the big takeaways for me. And I think the other one is, and this is more of an overarching thing about this team, Trey. I thought last year Kirby looked exhausted. And I think part of the reason he looked exhausted was I just think that team was trying. I think that I don't know that the leadership puzzle was ever put together properly. I think he had to kind of carry that team in a lot of ways that he wasn't used to. Yeah. And I just think, man, he just looked haggard when it was all done with. I think he was kind of done with that team. And I don't mean that sideways or anything. I just think it was what it was, right? This year's total 180. I think he is energized by this group. I think this group likes each other. I don't think you go down 21-7, come back and tie it, take the lead. I don't think you go down 38-30 with less than 5 to play, come back and tie it and go win in overtime if you don't like each other. They just seem to have a collective why that they're all aiming for together. And I'm going to tell you something, man. You put that together with their roster talent, look out.
Yeah, I believe it's Scott Van Pelt. Yeah, I really appreciate. Yeah, that's really great. And I was actually you stole my thunder there because I was going to bring the y'all should have lost, but you just answered that. But I believe it was Scott Van Pelt was talking about it after the game, and he brought up a really good point. He's like, last week Kirby, he's having a meltdown against Austin Peay. I think he was trying to get a reaction out of his team, and you notice him on the sidelines. He was cool in that third and fourth quarter, and I think he knew something. He knew his team, and that has Scott Van Pelt was like, when the coach is cool, he trusts his team, and they were able to ice water in their veins and react. And I think that's what he got out of them. And he saw that there's resilience, and I think he even said it. Kurt Herbstreit on a Zoom call Friday, he's like, I like this team where they're at better than last year, and I think that showed that they didn't lay down. They got punched in the mouth 21-7, but they rallied back. And we might got a little help from offsides and, kicker. But like you said, we found a way to win. And this is what I think Nick Saban used to be with Alabama.
Yeah.
Y'all should have lost that game, but you didn't. You found a way to win. So I think that's where Georgia is as a program.
Let me ask you a couple things. First one was, I was telling my son and my wife this. We were watching the fourth quarter. Tennessee engineers this great drive after Georgia ties it up 38-38. And they got everything in front of them to kick the field goal, right? And it's whatever it was, third down, I don't know, 8 or 9 seconds left. They weren't super aggressive using their timeouts and stuff. I seemed very content to just get in position and kick the field goal. Yep. And I was telling my son, I said, they need to kick the field goal right now, third down. He said, why would they kick it on third down? I was like, well, because, just in case the operation gets screwed up, they'd kind of fall on it, roll back again. Yeah. And when they didn't do that, when they come out to run the play, I told my son, I said, this ain't going to go good. Something bad's going to happen. So when they jumped, he's like, how'd you know they're going to jump? I said, dude, I'm just telling you, football gods, they were upset. Like, I don't know why they did that. I thought they really fumbled the bag in how they handled the operation at the end. And then in all honesty, I think what ended up happening then is it also gave that kid more time to think. And you could just tell he was not locked in where he needed to be. That the moment was bigger than he was.
Yeah.
Which, God, I felt bad for him. You know, he comes out in overtime and literally hits almost the exact same kick in the exact same spot from the exact same hash. And so that's when you know, man, it's a between the ears thing. But so I was interested about that. The other thing I was interested in was, and we had talked about this a little bit on our preview show last week, but I was in Sanford last year for the game. Okay. And what struck me that night was, because, you know, narrative wise, Heupel has gotten a lot of flack, I feel like, about, play calling hasn't been great, or they can't do X, Y, and Z. And what I saw in Sanford was the opposite. I thought the game plan was magnificent. And what I kept seeing all night was Tennessee players running wide open throughout the back of the secondary. And you're going, God, I hope Nico can't find these guys. And obviously that's what happened, right? Like he struggled to find the open guy.
Yeah.
I remember leaving that night and thinking that game could have looked a lot different if they had a quarterback who could function in this offense. And so one of my concerns going into it was, if Joey Aguilar and how that offense looked in weeks 1 and 2 was not fool's gold because of the opponents, but was actually what they are, Georgia might have some problems. And I think we saw on Saturday, that's real. Like, Aguilar's very comfortable in that offense. They got a great deep threat in Brazil. They protect him well. He's mobile, man. He's tough. I like how he looks in that offense. And so if I was a Tennessee fan leaving that game, even though you're gutted they lost, you go, we are going to be a problem for the rest of the SEC, because we finally have somebody at the quarterback position that can play dealer like we need to within this Josh Heupel offense. Like, I thought for me, that was the best their offense has looked since Hendon Hooker was in uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it's explosive plays they were getting back. And then I guess to go back, I completely agree with all that. So Kirby said this is fixable in the secondary, but you think Ellis Robinson, is it Harris? He got burned. So is this something they were out of position on those plays, or what do you think? Is there fixable? And is this going to be an issue because got Jerry Bernard and Ryan Williams coming up?
Yeah, well, let me tell you one thing I think is interesting about it is, you know, Dalen Everett hasn't been completely healthy, right? Like, didn't play, I don't think, at all in the opener against Marshall.
Right.
And so I think that's a piece of it. Is, I think going into the season, everybody kind of expected Dalen's going to be on one half of the field locking that down, and then we're going to see what plays out on the other side, whether Ellis takes that job, whether Daniel Harris takes that job, whatever it may be. And look, man, I think the thing with Ellis that you have to remember is, dude, he's a true sophomore. And so not a ton of game reps. You're in a huge atmosphere, in a huge environment. And I think this is part of it. It's trial by fire. You're getting baptized. And I think that's what that was. I think this is one of those things where these are week 3 problems that I don't anticipate will be week 12 problems. If there's any unit on the entire roster that I am not super concerned about Kirby and Glenn fixing, it's the secondary. I mean, they will get that sorted out. I think the bigger issue, or the thing we maybe should have a bigger conversation about, is how explosive or lack of explosiveness there was on Saturday, at least with the front seven. Yeah. I just didn't think they made Aguilar super uncomfortable, which is why he starts the game 14 for 14 and is just absolutely cooking. Yeah. And so that's a piece of it, right? It's always chicken or egg, I feel like, with busts in the secondary versus lack of pressure up front, because, you know, there's coverage sacks, but then there's also big busts in the back end because, look, man, the guy's had forever to throw. We can't cover this guy for 6 seconds. So, yeah, I think it's probably a mixed bag, a little bit of both. I do think there were some coverage busts where it looks like they got mixed up on who is supposed to release, who's supposed to hold, all those type things. Yeah. But, again, that's the one position group where you figure they're going to get this taken care of, and how fortuitous to have the bye going into the home game as Alabama comes to town next weekend.
Oh, yeah. And also another one, I think when Raylan Wilson gave that solid hit on Aguilar, I think he got rattled a little bit because that was solid. I mean, like perfect form.
Perfect.
Just,
yeah.
But
yeah, that was a stick, man. He's been outstanding the first 3 weeks of the season. I think Raylan's been unbelievable.
Yeah, completely agree about the pass rush. That always can't get to him, man. He sits back there and he can make his reads.
Yeah.
And, and then I guess on the other side – how about the right side of that offensive line? Is this fixable? Because I know that's some hand-wringing going into Alabama.
Yeah, look, man, this was my biggest concern about this probably entire team coming into this season was the offensive line. I mean, you're talking an offensive line last year that by Georgia standards was quite mediocre. And then you got three guys that had significant playing time off that line that are playing on Sunday now. And this line was supposed to be better than last year. That was some difficult mental gymnastics for me to do. And I think we're seeing that a little bit now. I will caveat that with I do think when Ernest is at left tackle, Monroe is at right tackle, and Juan is at right guard, this offensive line has some big time potential. But you're talking about two of those guys really didn't play at all. Look, I thought Bo stepped up and gave everything he had. And I think some of this too, again, you're just talking about guys with lack of reps in a horrible, horrible road environment as the road team. And so it's just difficult, I think. I did think some of it is give and take too, where Gunner's got to be a little bit more cognizant of the timeline and either get it out or throw it away. I thought the strip sack, in fairness, look, Monroe got absolutely bullied on that. It wasn't even like their DN did anything fancy. It was just he got straight bull rushed. But I did think on the strip sack, he probably was holding it a little bit too long, trying to make something happen. So, and again, week 3 problems, right? Your hope is that this continues to progress. They continue to get better. Ernest gets healthy. Juan gets healthy. And they can kind of be the road graders that everybody hopes they can be.
Yeah. And also, do you like the kind of running back by committee, and who do you think maybe the alpha dog is, or do you think they'll continue to maybe do like 1, 2, 3, like Nate Frazier, Dwight Phillips? Looks like McCrae's might be your short yardage guy.
Yeah, man. How about the coming out party for Josh McCray, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I thought he had some really, really big carries in that ball game, and he gives them a different dynamic from kind of a size and an impact perspective. And so that was great to see. Look, I'm a little biased on this. I admittedly love Nate a ton. And so if you're asking me for who's the alpha, who's the guy that can be their field tilter, their playmaker, it's Nate. I mean, he is it. I was telling my co-host James this. For me, he's as if Sony and Noshawn had a baby.
Okay.
He's the best of both of them. He's built and moves a lot like Sony, but I also think he has that first step dynamic like Noshawn has. He has that explosiveness like Noshawn has, and then he also has that flair, right? Like you could see Nate flying over the end zone with the arm held out like Noshawn did in Tempe against Arizona State. Like I just think he has that in him. So I love him, man. I think he's outstanding. And then, dude, Chauncey Bowens has been great. I think he runs the football well. So I like what they've got. And then Cash obviously brings what Cash brings. And then Dwight Phillips has got the pop to him. And so, they've got a lot of weapons there. And I do think it's Kirby's preference to have a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the running back position. I think he likes to have a lot of different options to limit carries, to keep guys fresh, all those things. And so of all the position groups with that Georgia offense, I think right now you got to feel great about that running back room.
Yeah, dude, especially putting 44 points, and that answered a lot of questions. So feeling good there. Before we give a little preview for next week's big time matchup, Georgia and Alabama, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, VivasKiloSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar for 20% off. Dawg House 20. Again, that's 20% off. Dawg House 20. My personal favorite is the watermelon. If you can catch the coconut flavor, which gets sold out a lot, check that out. Also, they're a big supporter of the Boston Bruins on that side. And also got potentially another good sponsor coming up that I'll hopefully mention soon. So, yeah, excited about it. Yeah, VivasKiloSeltzer.com. Also check them out on Instagram and YouTube as well. And then from the post-conference, Seth, I wanted to ask you, just because I told my mom about it, and she was thinking about it. She's a diehard Georgia fan, and loves hearing everything Kirby Smart says. What do you think the phrase "whistling by the graveyard" that Kirby mentioned, which is like he can write? My mom's like, he can write motivational books, so just whatever he said is zingers.
Yeah,
but he says, a lot of people thought we were whistling by the graveyard. Tennessee, who's a physical team, might be whistling by the graveyard. But anyway, what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on what he meant by that, which I thought was poetic?
Yeah, I love that. I've clipped it. I want to post it. It's look, old Southern saying. Essentially, what's behind that is whistling by the graveyard's kind of, look, man, we're about to die. We're about to meet our maker, but we're whistling because we're carefree and we're feeling good about it. And it's kind of a way of saying we're trying to minimize or try not to give legitimacy to actual problems that we're having, right? And I think what he was referring to is, well, probably could be a couple things, right? He could have had some kind of postscript about what everybody was saying about the Georgia offense type thing, or about what Georgia's program is, because I think there have been murmurs about, has Georgia taken a step back? Can Gunner Stockton take them places they're trying to be? And so that was my take on it. That's kind of what I thought he was saying. Everybody's throwing dirt on us. And, we're trying to whistle Dixie or whistling while we're by the graveyard type thing. And so that was how I took it, was just trying to make light of the fact that there probably are some real problems, but they're trying to, do everything they can to figure things out and keep pushing. But yeah, I love that soundbite. He's always good for, I feel like, one of these every couple weeks where something comes out and you're like, oh yeah, he had that in his back pocket. I mean, I'm just telling you this. I guarantee that's something he heard his whole life. Like, it's just a funny colloquialism. So I loved it.
Yeah, his motivational sayings are always good, and I think that they're in the culture with them, and you can just tell them that's the way they play.
Yeah,
they're not going to lay down and die. I mean, there's one of those you gotta always say you got to put a crowbar, sledgehammer, and knock them out. You got to knock them out cold, out 10 count.
Yep.
To stop Georgia, similar to Alabama. And speaking of that, so huge matchup coming up. Get a bye week to hopefully heal up and focus on some things. But I know the storyline is going to be 1-9. Kirby's 1-6. But you do get him in Athens, and I believe early point spread, it might have changed, as I've seen Georgia favored by 4. And, of course, Alabama with the bad loss against Florida State, but they've been rolling since. What's your how you feeling about it?
Oh, man. It's so tough, right? Because you're trying to evaluate within this capsule of this year versus what is undeniable history between these two programs. And in the case of Georgia followers, bad history, right? Like, in so many ways, I think if you're a Georgia follower, if you're the Georgia program, you're hoping Saturday is an exorcism in some ways. Next Saturday is an exorcism. You just have so many ghosts and demons that you're trying to evict from your program, from your psyche, all those things. And in all honesty, I do wonder sometime if that history creeps in from a mental perspective. Because look, in all honesty, these two teams have never played each other. These two programs in their current iterations of 2025 have never played each other, right? So the rest of it doesn't matter. And that's what I would preach if I was in those locker rooms is, look, 0-0. That's what we are. We're 0-0 against this Alabama team. And so we're going to go out there and do what we can and put our best foot forward. I thought they got absolutely blitzed and shell-shocked in Bryant-Denny last year. And, good on them for coming back. But that game was, I think, indicative of probably what that team was. There were so many warning signs to kind of give an idea of what the personality of that team was. I think this last weekend against Tennessee is going to be the biggest blessing ever. Because, number one, you go into a big road environment, tons of stakes, not super sure about what your personality is, who you are, what your guts look like. Now you know, right? And so I think from an identity perspective, you feel a little bit more 10 toes down about where you sit going into 9-27 against Alabama. The flip side of that is if you're on the Alabama side, you don't really know who you are either, because I know they beat Wisconsin, and that's great. Wisconsin Power 4 program. But look, man, that Wisconsin program has really, really struggled with Luke Fickell, and they got a pair of shoes playing quarterback. I mean, it's just not it's not what they have been historically. And so I still don't think we know who Alabama is. Now, look, do I think Ty Simpson can be a good player? Yeah. Do I think he can give Georgia problems? Yeah, I sure do. I mean, look, Joey Aguilar went up and down the field on them all weekend last weekend. So they got to figure some things out defensively. I have no feel for it, Trey. I don't. I think so much of it is my own jaded impressions of past things. There's been so many times I thought they went into a game with Alabama with the better matchups, with the better momentum, whatever it may be, and then they kind of come out and they don't act like themselves. So I don't know. We'll see. I do think, though, that even though it's game 4, this is a very important game, okay? Not win or loss wise, right? They can lose this game Saturday and everything is still in front of them. But I think it's a big deal from again, program exorcism perspective. They have got to get past this mental roadblock of big bad Alabama, and it just be like everybody else they play. And in all honesty, I thought that would happen last year because I thought part of the roadblock for Kirby was Nick. I just thought he coached different when he played Nick. Yeah. I can't really explain it. I just think, look, man, I think they have a very father-son dynamic, and I think he has so much respect for Nick. And it's like, man, you don't want to go out in the front yard and bury your dad and pick up basketball, And I think there's just that level of respect where he could never stick the knife in like he could when he plays everybody else. And so I thought that being gone last year, they would go in and kind of come out like gangbusters when they played them in Tuscaloosa. It just didn't happen. I mean, they looked ill-prepared. So I am hoping for a very, very different Open on Saturday night between the hedges next weekend.
Yeah, completely agree with all that. So the exercise of demons is definitely a good thing. They're 1-6, 1-9, but I guess I'm kind of look at it more positive because I'm usually Larry Munson. But I think at home the place will be rocking, and I'm gonna go back to the Florida State game. Just undisciplined, the Alabama defense. They were getting pushed around. I don't know if they underestimated them. They're like, this is a 2-10 team. Also, if you look at Kalen DeBoer, they've struggled on the road.
Yeah.
It's going to be rocking in there. Ty Simpson does look good. If they can just somehow slow down Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams and they don't get hit deep shots like they did against Tennessee. And I think I heard Jan Miller might come back, but he's coming off a tightrope.
Yeah.
And they couldn't run the ball against Florida State at all. And I just think Georgia's they've circled this one. They're going to want it. I think they're going to be more physical, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. But, I mean, anything could happen. But I'm kind of going with that is you can man ball Alabama, and, like, what kind of culture do they have with this West Coast kind of laid back type? So I'm kind of looking at it that way. When they get in the trenches, get punched in the mouth, and then you got to just go back and look at that Florida State game. I mean, that was not its first game, but Florida State's a good team, looks like, and I just think Georgia. And then I think it's a lot of confidence in Gunnar Stockton going in this when he answered a lot of questions. And you still can take – my friend last week was like, we got to take more deep shots, and you got to use the tight ends more. So I just think that. But we'll see. Special teams might come in there. We got to get special teams. Yeah.
I do think if I was building an offensive game plan, which Mike Bobo has forgotten more football than I know about, so I'm not going to question what he's going to have in place. But if it was me, okay, I think what they have had a tendency to do against Alabama previously, and that's when Coach Bobo was there, Coach Munkin was there, whatever it may be, right, is I think they have had a tendency to kind of sit on their hands a little bit instead of just coming out and trying to hit the throat as soon as possible. I thought that was one of the most brilliant things about the game plan against Tennessee was all these questions about the offense, all these questions about the explosiveness, and all these questions about Gunnar Stockton's viability to do all those things. First play of the game, we're going to drop back and hit the fly down the right sideline. It was, to me, looked like a very similar design, very similar shot to what they did against Alabama first play last year that Arian dropped, remember? Right. And so I think they should do that. Like, I think you have to put pressure, and obviously hitting it makes it better because you kind of take the top off a little bit. But by doing that, I think it allows them to open up these running lanes, and they rely on being able to run the football. And so I do think in some ways, though, they can use the deep threat to then set up doing things in the underneath game and the running game, all those type things. So if it was me, I would come out early and take a shot on offense.
I mean, and they definitely got the dudes, lot better skill wide receivers and a lot deeper this year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully the weather's great. Night game. I'm sure it's going to be be rocking. I'm not sure if it's game day. There's another big game that I believe I saw, Oregon Penn State.
Oregon Penn State. Yeah. I'm sure big noon kickoff will be in Happy Valley for that. I am curious. This is interesting about this weekend, Trey, is they're going to Florida, Miami, which is clearly a let's just say TV money play because they have the contract for the SEC, the ACC, and because for me, man, the best game of the weekend is either Auburn or Oklahoma Auburn, or the one I'm most interested to see is Texas Tech Utah, and which that's where big noon kickoff would be, is Texas Tech Utah. But it'll be interesting to see if they do Penn State Oregon, if they come for Alabama Georgia. I kind of think they're going to come for Alabama Georgia, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think if you wanted the best ratings, that would be. But
yeah. I mean, I think too. Like Nick Saban's on the game day crew, obviously. Like, there's just a lot of that. I think that'd be the play to do it, but we'll see.
It'll be interesting. His ESPN, the picks at the end. That'd be interesting. All eyes on him. All right, Nick.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then one other narrative storyline. I'm just throwing it out there. I always like look ahead, and maybe I'm stirring the pot. What do you think if somehow Miami came to Athens in a playoff game? You know where I'm going with it. Carson Beck comes home.
Yeah.
And they're looking good.
I don't even think it has to be in Athens, right? Like, I just think any matchup between those two teams at some point in the playoff race would be absolute drama. So I'm all for it. I think it'd be great. Yeah. I do think that Miami roster is constructed well. I think the depth they have on that offensive line, the returning experience they had on that offensive line was a perfect setup for Carson. And God, man, they've got some absolute weapons on the edge, whether it's CJ Daniels or Malachi Toney. Like, they just have a lot of guys that give him some options. So I do think it's a good fit. And, they're in the ACC. I mean, if you look at their schedule, I don't even think they leave the state of Florida to play till November 1st or something like that. So really, really good schedule. I think they will make quick work of a struggling Florida team this weekend. But yeah, I would be all for that matchup. And I just have a feeling too, he would obviously never come out and say it, but I think there would be some extra juice there from Kirby and the boys, given how things ended. Everything I heard made it sound like that was not handled as gracefully as it probably could have been handled post elbow injury in the SEC title game. So that game would be ripe with storylines.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, appreciate you coming on again, Seth, and how we follow you on social media. Yeah.
So we're on everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. The handles are different everywhere. Yeah, man, this is the big one right here.
Walk on. Yeah, I was a walk on back in the day, so this is hit home for me.
Yeah, I love that. So was I. That was part of the reason for the name of the show. So awesome. Yeah, man, YouTube is where we're really trying to push. We're trying to get our content better there. Would love for people to kind of check out some of our video stuff. We had Chris Felica on this week, the Bear.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
He's great and had some great insight on the slate of games this week. So yeah, man, any support we would love. It's we love doing it. We're in year 5 now, and it's one of the best things that we do each week. So yeah, come check us out. We'd love to have you, and thank you so much for having me on today, Trey. I really appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely check out Seth on Preferred Walk On all the YouTube and Instagram and Twitter as well. Building up the subscribers there, which is great.
Yeah, we're trying, man. It's a slow slog.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. Just got to grind it out.
That's it.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trey.
You too. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.